The web should be accessible, and it's the responsibility of businesses and website owners to make their websites accessible to everyone. How do we know how accessible our website is and if it would hold up to scrutiny? That's where the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines can help. The Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, or the WCAG 2.1, are an internationally recognized set of recommendations that you can follow to make websites and digital content more accessible. Following these guidelines will make content more accessible to a much wider audience, including those who have neurological, visual, auditory, physical, or cognitive impairments. These guidelines give recommendations for improving accessibility of web content on desktops, laptops, tablets, and mobile devices. What's more, following these guidelines will make content more user-friendly to everyone on the whole. The WCAG offers what they call layers of guidance, in which they provide an outline to help users achieve an improved and satisfactory level of accessibility. These layers of guidance that they provide include overall principles, general guidelines, and testable success criteria. They also provide a rich collection of sufficient techniques, advisory techniques, and documented common failures with examples, resource links, and code. The WCAG website from W3 is a great resource. You'll find a link to it in the description below. The 4 principles that they lay out provide the foundation for web accessibility. These are perceivable, operable, understandable, and robust. Under these principles are 13 guidelines. These 13 guidelines give basic goals that you should work towards in order to make your content more accessible to users with different disabilities. All of the guidelines have 1 or more points of compliance. These guidelines aren't testable, however, do provide the framework and the main objectives that you should be working towards in order for your content to become more accessible to a wider audience. The testable sets of success criteria set out accessibility standards for each guideline for you and also highlights where conformance testing is required. There are 3 levels of accessibility standards that are set out in the testable success criteria to meet the needs of different groups and different situations. These are graded as A, the lowest, AA, the minimum required by the UK government, and AAA, which is the highest accessibility standard. The WCAG also provides sufficient and advisory techniques to help you achieve improved accessibility for each of the guidelines and success criteria. All of the layers of guidance that the WCAG provide are done to help you make your digital content more accessible. Through the use of principles, the WCAG 2.1 emphasizes the need to focus on the way that people may want or need to interact with digital content. We need to consider that people may be using a keyboard instead of a mouse, need to change browser settings to make things easier to read, use screen readers, use screen magnifiers, or use voice commands. Let's look at the 4 principles in more detail. This won't be an exhaustive list of everything you need to do to meet the principles of the guideline, but should give you an idea of the types of things that you need to be thinking of for each one. The first principle is perceivable. To meet the perceivable principle, you need to ensure that users can recognize, use, and access your digital content with the senses that they have available to them. This means that you'll need to do things like provide alt text or text alternatives for non-text content, provide transcripts and captions for videos, ensure that content is structured logically so that it can also be navigated and read by a screen reader, use colors that contrast well with each other, and ensure that the text in every feature can be increased and that content is operational when magnified, amongst other things. The second principle is operable, which ensures that users can find and operate your website or app regardless of how they choose to access it. So ensuring, for example, it works with a keyboard or voice commands. You should also allow users to play, stop, or pause any moving content, avoid blinking or flashing animations, or let users disable this. Use descriptive titles for pages and frames, ensure users can navigate content logically, use meaningful headers and titles in your content, and allow for active focus, which is making it easier for users to clearly identify what their keyboard or assistive technology is currently focused on. The third principle is understand. For the understandable principle, you need to make sure people can understand your content and how your service works. This means you'll need to do things like use plain, easy to understand, simple English in short sentences, use common, easy to understand words that aren't overcomplicated, clearly explain any abbreviations you use, and make sure any features behave in consistent and predictable ways. For the final principle, robust, this means that your content can be interpreted by a wide variety of browsers, interfaces, and technologies, including ones that are outdated within reason, current, and also account for any future anticipated browsers and assistive technologies. For the robust principle, you'll need to do things like ensure you use valid HTML so that browsers and assistive technologies can accurately interpret and parse content, ensure your code allows assistive technologies, know what every user interface component is, and allows assistive technologies to flag important status messages or modal dialogues in a way that's informative. If you want to improve the accessibility of your website, app, or digital content, you should consider getting a professional accessibility audit. Getting an expert audit can help you find any accessibility issues with your service and ensure it meets accessibility requirements. An accessibility audit will review the 13 guidelines of the WCAG principles and will highlight areas of the success criteria where your business passes or fails. If you feel comfortable with these guidelines, having read them, there are plenty of things you can start doing today to audit your own website and make changes to improve the web for everyone. Good luck, and let us know how you get on in the comments below.